Spitter as of late has been my favorite tier 2 Xeno, and I am not very good at this spitter, so I thought maybe by some weird chance coincidence, maybe there's just something I wasn't understanding about the damage. It felt like half the time I was spitting at people and it was doing literally nothing. I had a round where I spit at a survivor, hit them 8 times, and they literally never cared. They never moved. I never crit them, and I didn't understand why. So we are going to take a little bit of time going through the Xeno's abilities, this Xeno specifically, and their abilities and the damage, and how to properly utilize those damage. I was already aware of like the charge spit into the acid spray being the big combo. I was not aware that's pretty much the only way to do any actual damage as a spitter, but not to get ahead of myself. The bread and butter of the spitto? I don't know what a spitto is. The bread and butter ability, the most common ability of a spitter, is, as you could probably guess it, their spit. The Xeno Spit is a 25 plasma cost ability. It launches a projectile that deals damage to the first enemy that it hits. That also means like sentry turrets, but sentry turrets are, every time I've tried to shoot one, it shoots me back, and it's not a good time. Before I even spit on a single person, well, I guess I could spit on this one. This is a Marine that has no form of armor, or let's say they had an armor vest which has no biohazard resistance. There are 3 tiers of biohazard resistance that I'm aware of. The lowest tier is the, I guess I have to go into a examinable roll for this. The lowest tier armor has a biohazard resistance of 15. This includes the light armor, and for interestingly enough, the grenadier armor only has 15 biohazard resistance, meaning they're a little bit more susceptible to acid attacks. Then we have the medium class armor, so the literal medium armor, and then the smart gun operator, the Scout, and the Sadar only have a biohazard resistance of 20. I say only, that's literally right in the middle. And then we have the heavy armor, which has a biohazard resistance of 25. Then we also have the B12 and the M4, so just different movement speeds. These obviously have different resistances to each other. And interestingly, the snipers are resistant to acid when they're very unlikely to even get hit by it. I'm sure these values were decided a long time ago, or just based off the fact, I don't know, like the ghillie suit kind of covers your whole body, so it protects you from acid. Whatever the case may be, that is how these numbers work. So I spit just one little acid glob at an unarmored person. So by default, we can see this acid spit does 20 heat damage a hit. So then you have 150 health in this game until you crit. So that is quite a lot of hits to crit. The spit itself actually has a 2.5 second cooldown, so you're really, even against an unarmored person, you're just tickling them. Without pain or anything, without any other types of damage other than just literal health values, doing 20 damage is pretty damn insignificant when you're fighting dozens upon dozens of Marines, especially when half of them have general cured IVs hooked up to their brain blood barrier, and 20 damage gets healed before your cooldowns are even back. Doing 20 damage, in my experience as a spitter, is so irrelevant that I'm more risk. There's more of a risk I'm going to accidentally catch on fire, get hit by a grenade, than it's ever so far been worth to do a minuscule amount of damage. Just to continue, so this is the light armor, this is medium armor, and this is heavy armor. So if you looked over here for reference, these are the armors. Get back into place. We'll just spit on each one really quick, just with the default spit, just so we could take a quick examination of the damage. As you can imagine, the more armored you are, the less damage you take. It's not a huge jump, which I find really interesting. So we can do 18 with light, 14 with medium, and only 11 with heavy. So your damage, especially against a heavy, you might not even be aware you hit them. That's how little it does. You could technically, I think, see the pixel on their face if it's uncovered of the slight burn damage that you did to them. Otherwise, though, just to spit on its own damage is pretty bad. The only saving grace of just shooting the spit on its own is that it does have some okay range, but the damage is just not there. Now on to the second damaging ability on its own, we have Spray Acid. Spray Acid is on its own also not an amazing offensive option. If I spray it onto a person with no armor, I'm not going to ghost out and check their health every time. The acid spray does 30 damage to a no armor person, but here's where things get weird and I don't understand it. Against light armor, so this person, for example, it only does 18 damage. We lose almost half our damage. I don't really understand what armor calculation is being used here. I'm sure I could look it up, but like the normal spit doesn't work that way. The normal spit, you lose 2 damage, but the acid spray loses half. And just to double check that I'm not crazy, as I said, I'm not going to do this. I'm double checking my work here. Maybe I should actually spit on them. What am I doing? Why you don't do videos without better planning. But we only did the 18 damage. It's like 18.8, but whatever. I don't know why you lose so much damage, but against a medium armor, you only do 15. And against heavy, you go down all the way to 12 damage. You lose more than half of your damage on an ability that has a pretty lengthy cooldown. It's like what, 8-second cooldown or something like that. That's just not a combat like ability. However, it's meant to combo with other abilities, which we'll get into a second, and it's much better as a utility option. For example, if a fellow Xeno catches on fire, and let's say it's even like the worst fire in the game, like a 40 stack, not that one, that's not the 40 stack fire. Say it's like a 40 stack blue fire from like an orbital strike. If you immediately use your acid spray on them, you can get rid of all of the stacks. And like, actually, that might have been more than the 41. Either way, you can instantly save friendly Xenos, and this has so far been a much better defensive option than offensive. Another thing you could do with it is you can actually use it to do some damage to barricades. It's not as much as just using direct acid onto them, which you do have normal corrosive acid, so that's not bad. But we are just discussing the damage here. But we can see that we have put some acid on a barricade. It can go like 5 tiles away. The damage is, it's not, I mean, it really isn't nothing to sneeze at. It's like an instant cast. You can get the hell in and out, and it does start taking down the health of a barricade. I mean, it did 115 damage, and like if I just do one single bite, yeah, it's like, again, it's not a huge amount of damage, but you can do it from range. You can cover multiple barricades, and you can instantly spit it and run. So like, I spit left, I can be out of there before it's even done. And if, like, say if I wanted to be a little bit better with that, I can spit far away, run away, and it goes several tiles out. So on its own, yeah, not the greatest damage in the world. So where the spitter's real damage starts coming in is using your another ability called Charge Spit. Charging up your spit, making it do more damage to coat enemies and acids, but has less range. You do lose a decent bit of range here. I believe this makes it so it goes down to like about 5 tiles, but realistically trying to hit that 5th tile is hard to predict. So I've only been using on people like about yay far seems to be the most reliable. But the Charge Spit, you activate it, it gives you a huge burst of speed, and it makes you faster, so it makes it really easy to get in, spit on somebody, and go out. The cooldown of Charge Spit is pretty lengthy. It's like close to, I don't know, I almost want to say it's like 10-ish seconds. Might even be longer than that. I'm not entirely sure. It's hard to test these things without a stopwatch, but it's not that important. What the Charge Spit does is it coats somebody in acid. It makes the initial hit do more damage as well. And they can stop, drop, and roll it. They can instantly extinguish themselves. But the damage, remember, on this person, it was only 20 on a normal spit. However, if you coat them in acid and you let it keep going the whole time, it does up to 50. And just going down the line, against light armor, if they don't put it out, it does 47. Medium, it does 44. And heavy, it does 39 damage. So this starts taking away how effective their armor is against your spit if you use a charge. You get massive increases, and at best, if they stop, drop, and roll or forces somebody else to use an extinguisher, that's them taking their hands off a gun and not shooting a fellow sister. There is value not just in raw numbers in RMC. Now, where the real deadly combo, and this is why I have been playing this very, very wrong. A lot of the times I'll do the full combo, which this is the full combo. You charge your spit, you spit on them, and then you use acid spray. This will not only stun them very temporarily, just knocks them down, it changes the color of the acid. This does a massive burst of damage, and it makes the acid last a lot longer and doing more damage the whole time. How is the king ready? I'm in the test server, whatever. I guess I've had this open for too long. But the damage becomes immense. If they do not put this acid out, all of them except the heavy will die from it. They'll crit and then asphyxiate and die. The heavy gets so close to death that any little bit of tickling to them will crit them. This is a massive amount of damage. Yeah, it's like 100 plasma combo, but that's a sixth of your plasma. It's a cooldown thing is actually the issue. You can, if you time it correctly and manage to hit somebody, say you hit somebody important like a Sadar and they don't get extinguished, or like a Pyro, they are in big trouble. The frontliners really struggle with this. Your armor class almost really does not matter if you get hit by this full combo. I mean, here, I'll just even hit the medium person with it just to showcase, so you don't need to see the damage. So, something that's also worth mentioning, I might have said this or not, I'm very distracted today. If you get hit with this increased acid, it takes 2 stop drops and rolls to get rid of it, or 2 extinguishers. The extinguisher is obviously the preferred method, because otherwise you're going to keep taking continual damage. This is so much more damage than just spitting at them normally that I feel like as a spitter, I'm better off and probably most of the time just never using the normal spit unless it's just like I'm trying to shoot at somebody behind a barricade and maybe they don't realize how little damage you do and you scare them off. I don't know. The people that are aware that spitters do no damage with just a normal spit, they know that you can't hurt them. Like I said, I shot a survivor 8 times with the normal spit, and the dude just sat there just tap firing at me the whole time. He was probably just on some insane like Dermaline, Kelotane, I don't know, drip, and I swear I did no damage to him. As far as I'm aware, my hits weren't even registering. Final thing worth covering is the tail stab. I'm not going to cover the initial damage, but the tail stab of the spitter actually does like a 30 damage over time mix of like burn and poison. So if you manage to, like, say you go up to the heavy and you do the full combo in them, remember I said you couldn't crit them normally? While they're stunned like that, if you have your keybind set up pretty well, you can do this in like barely a second. It's a surprising amount of damage that a ranged cast can do at point blank. Like, say, this has happened a lot with me when playing Spitter in the past few days. If somebody's meleeing like a resin door, just immediately, like I could showcase it a little bit better over here on somebody who's not dead. Say they're mailing the resin door, just use your charge spit to walk into the door to open it, then do the full combo, and you can literally run back into the safety of resin after you just hit them with, basically, if they don't get extinguished, they will die within seconds, as we saw over here on a full health person with heavy armor. Even if they get extinguished and you hit them with a tail stab, that's another 30 damage that it doesn't matter like what armor they have, it will do that damage. Of course, a lot of people are literally like microdosing on general cure crack shrooms and will always be healing, but you can't see that. So that's why I'm not focusing too much on damage numbers specifically, because you can't see the damage numbers. You can't see the health of a Marine. When pain gets added, you won't be able to really see that either. Um, yeah, I don't know exactly how much difference Spitter is in CM13 with Pain. My limited time in CM13 with Pain, I never really experienced Pain being much of a debilitating factor. I normally just got my head cut off because I didn't wear a helmet. So I guess you could say there was a pain in the neck. Yeah, this video probably helped no one. It helped me, though. That's important. And before somebody goes, "Oh, Liltenhead said don't spit on people. It's bad." I'm not saying that. I'm saying what I'm doing. I feel like me doing the normal spit is just killing me, where the charge spit is getting results.